BlackRock, here they are again, Mr. Fink, is involved, and NASDAQ, the whole exchange is involved in trying to have options now for Ethereum ETFs. And the first time I hear ETFs, it's all about control, whether it's actually with the product or not. It's there's going to be ghost things happening here again, and it's just a matter of getting control of it. And Max Payne is going to come back into this, and it's just going to be a market maker.
You know why they want option contracts?
Besides controlling the price, I don't know why.
Absolutely, besides controlling the price. The mechanics, why a company would offer option contracts. This is a very, very good thing. Like, so basically, when you have shares of your stock, basically you're employing people to invest in your company, right? When you have options, you're also basically, without risking more of your company, you're giving them the option to buy your shares of stock, or letting them basically have a downside protection where if they basically are buying or selling, depending on what they're doing with the option, whether it's a call or a put, if it starts to fall with the option in place, it's downside protection. So like, for example, if Ethereum's at 3,300 and you have a 2,700 option and it gets to 2,200, guess what? Whoever just picked it up is down $500. So basically, it allows basically the company to hedge against their own stock to make, or ETF, whatever you want to call it, to make sure that they don't lose money and they're able to sell premium and basically pull it from anyone who wants to buy. It's like, hey, this expires Friday. You want one? I could mention a Matt Rife concert, but I won't.
We name drop every now and then in here. I just, options in general, though, anytime I hear the word options, I think of manipulation, and that's the way it'll always be for me, is that they will be able to manipulate a price wherever they want it to. And that's where I have the problem, not the company making money off of the options, but the funds making money off of people.
Well, it's kind of where I have the problem. And it's sort of like, if you look at it like you own a house, right? I'm going to do another analogy with this. Every week you can rent it out. Without options, you have to sell your house. So in order for the company to basically get a premium from whoever wants to buy that equity, that ETF each week, without the option, they don't have an ability to leverage their position or the money that's tied up in that position to potentially use it someplace else. So while, yes, the price will definitely fluctuate. That's the word. Fluctuate with market volatility. The end goal is basically, we know that options are a decaying animal. We know that premium will wind up back at whoever the person who owns the stock or ETF has. But without it, there's no downside protection to allow them to basically roll them or even do next year. Like, for example, I know you guys are, you particularly, Darren, don't like with extra floats out there, right? It's like you only have this much and then there's all this. Well, with options, it allows you to also say, I'll give you an IOU. I will buy an option 3 years out and then sell the option using that as the collateral. So I don't actually even have to own the stock. I literally just keep renting out a house I don't even own and getting a premium every single week as I sell it.
Yeah, and I mean, options it's like an unlimited way to continuously trade the stock, because there are, without offerings and things like that, there are a finite number of shares. Yep. And eventually all of the shares get bought up and you get the squeeze. Yep. And that's how it should work fundamentally. But then you throw options in there and traders can just play options. So it's almost like imaginary. It's an imaginary version of owning those particular shares. Yes. But you don't actually own them. You're just borrowing them for a couple of weeks. Like, to your analogy.
But you do have the option to exercise if you so chose.
You can. Yeah, you can. And
more fake shares be out there in the market. Yay.
It'll eat
no,
up
they can't just make them up. That's where the market makers come in.
They make them. The brokers keep it's rehypothecation over and over and over again, and it's the same share being rehypothecated 18 times, and the float being 18 times the float, and so there never is any type of accountability in that situation. There just never is, And
Oh,
the more money you have,
definitely is. And there's
the
even
more
an
money you
equation.
have, the more you can control that. So I mean, anybody that doesn't have the money, you're not going to be able to control it. It's going to always be the funds and doing what they do. So
I mean, there's always a much higher risk with options because the value can literally end up being zero if you get to expiration date and you haven't exercised it, or it hasn't increased in value, or you can't sell it. You know, if you get an option where you're on Thursday or Friday right before expiry, I mean, I've done it many times where you get right up next to that deadline and you try to sell it and it's worth nothing, and it
nothing.
just
Because all the delta is gone, all the time, the time efficient, and the intrinsic value, basically how much it's really worth, versus the extrinsic value, which is the perceived value that it could be worth based on how much time is left, basically completely deflates, and you're only left with the intrinsic value, which is, hey, a penny, 2 pennies, $1, $2.
But if you catch it at like the right delta and theta area, the ROI is exponentially better than just
of course,
buying just buying a couple of shares.
Hey, and you notice it works really well with statistics and probability, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, just to wrap this section up, the only thing I'm going to say, of course, is that ETFs and options are just they increase the house odds even more because they can control anything and everything. So
that's what we're taking away from that.
If you're not, that's what the Apis ones is. We've been saying for 3 years now. As we've watched every Friday, it get down to that max pain point. But we've said that before in previous ones.